Merry Christmas, Billy.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well, welcome finally, you son of a bitch. It's been too long.
It's like 2 years. I figured we'd wait another year too, but the suspense,
I was just listening to the Mark Maron podcast, and he was talking about he was trying to get some guy on the podcast, Albert Brooks. It's been like the last 10 years. He finally did it, and then as they were sitting down to record, he was like, "Well, now I feel like just another number. I should have made you wait. Should have held out. Made you keep wanting to get me on the podcast."
Yeah. That's cool that we're launching this on Christmas, though. I actually have a Christmas beer coming out.
Do you?
Brewing my first barley wine.
Oh.
I just hit the biggest gravity, so basically the sugar content I've ever hit in all of my history of brewing. It should be around 13% without any adjuncts, so that's awesome.
So I obviously know what that means because I'm an expert. But for all those that are listening who have no idea what you're talking about, what does that mean, the highest gravity you've ever hit?
So there's just a lot of fermentable sugar from grains, essentially. So it's been a learning curve with the system at Heritage Hill, trying to get higher numbers, more fermentable sugar with the size of the mash tun, basically.
Okay.
The size of the equipment, I should say.
Okay. So it's easier in some cases the larger the equipment you have?
Basically the circumference of the mash tun. You want more. You want a wider one, so you have more water to grain surface area to get better extraction. So the system there, it's a great system, but it's a lot easier to make small beers than it is to make giant 13% beer.
Did they have that in place before you started there, or did they reach out to you first? How did that all work?
So it is a long story. They were open for about 2 years, I want to say, before I came on board there. And I had become friends with Dan Palladino, the founder. Their first year of opening, we ended up drinking a bunch of beer in Albany and, just having a great time, hanging out all weekend at the Craft Brewers Conference because we're some of the only brewers and brewery owners from Syracuse out that way that time. So a few months went by, and he was losing his initial brewer, who was really only on board to help the setup process. He was a good friend of Dan's from high school and such, and co-owner of a brewery called Gravity Brewing Company out in Colorado. So after his leave, he asked me to come on board, and at the time I was closing in on year 2 at Talking Cursive, and after about a year, I had stepped into brewing almost all the beers there, which was really cool. And so Talking Cursive ended up making me a counteroffer, and I ended up staying with them because I'd helped open that place, and I felt super loyal. And then about 6 months went by, and Heritage Hill had 6 or 7 Talking Cursive beers on tap over there because the brewer that he hired in place of me wasn't keeping up. So I ended up I delivered beer I was delivering beer every single week, and one of the weeks I show up with a big order, and he's like, "We got to revisit that conversation. What's it going to take for you to come on board?" He's like, "I need whatever it's going to take." So we worked out an agreement, and I left Talking Cursive on good terms.
Yeah.
So it's been about 3.5, a little over 3.5 years I've been over there now.
It's the things that impress me most about it is like it's you, like you're the only person, right? It's not like a team.
Well, Terry's come on board. He's a big part of it now. But for the first 3.5 years of me being there, or 3 years I shall say, Terry's coming in on about 2-3 months now, and he's becoming a big part of production moving forward. So we can both focus on the bigger things. It's so nice to have a team in place now instead of just
yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great that Terry's there, and I like Terry a lot, and I followed his career on Facebook of like going up north, and then WT, and then now with you, and IBU. Back in the day, I remember seeing him at IBU. So that's really cool. But up until the last 3 months, it was you out there, and you guys self-distribute. You can yourself, right? Yep. You brew everything. You don't contract out.
No contracts.
And I mean, how much beer do you go through?
A lot. We have it's called a brew pub model mostly, which meaning you sell. I think statistically it's like 80% or more on premise to hold that title, but we sell a good majority on premise, and then up until just recently, we had an independent distribution contract with all 8 Wegmans in the Onondaga County, which was such a headache. We're still at a few of them, but it's very hard to dedicate 2 full work days to inventory, backstock, restocking, and their hours are like, you got to be there between 6 a.m. and like 1:30 at a lot of the loading docks to get anything in there. So that was a nightmare, but all self-distro. We're at the Syracuse Dome, a couple other big accounts like that, and Harvey's, trying to really scale back a bit on smaller accounts and focus on really big, heavy-hitting counts, just so it's less footwork.
Yeah. And then obviously a shit ton for on-site.
Yeah, yep. Usually around 20 beers on tap, and right now we have 6 in cans and 5 barrel-aged bottles coming out that I can't speak of, but around Christmas time, hopefully. So,
but I mean, at the end of the day, I think if there was a brewery out there, I mean, hell, if there was a brewery that did, I'm guessing here, but just the Heritage Hill volume, just for the busy season, they'd be happy with that alone. Not to mention Wegmans and all the other places that you distribute. I mean, you guys go through a shit ton of beer, I have to imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. At first, when I onboarded over there, it was definitely a curve trying to figure out volume of everything and how quick we go through everything versus, my previous brewing positions in the city. But there's so many elements that go into that with different streams of revenue based on, we have a family-orientated facility. We have a full kitchen. We have all these different events that we do all year round. Like right now we're doing horse-drawn sleigh rides, brunch with Santa, live music. It's really like building the biggest way to build your revenue stream is just have multiple avenues. And that's key with a facility like ours because we are a bit out of the beaten path, but it's more so a destination spot than it is just a brewery or a restaurant or so.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal location. You wouldn't think that it would be, but, because Pompey is, it's a good, 30 minutes from here, 25, 30 minutes from here.
Yeah.
It's not really near anything else. You really, like you said, it's a destination. You have to be going there. If you're not going there for Heritage Hill, you're really not going out there. And yeah, it's been great. I mean, everything that you guys have captured out there has been awesome. I mean, I've been out there more than a few times and enjoy it. As much shit as I like to give. Sometimes I still enjoy it.
That's what buddies do, right?
Yeah. So what made you get into beer? Because did you first originally start by being, over through IBU?
So I was home brewing. I was working as a diesel mechanic, and my stepbrother was super into Amagang, and for the longest time, I didn't know anything about craft beer. I just thought everything was just like Coors Lights, and I didn't care for Coors Light at the time. So my older brother introduced me to Amagang and, different Belgian beers and such. And I was 19 at the time when I decided that, when I found out, I'm like, oh shit, I can get all these ingredients and make hooch at home. Like I can illegally make alcohol. Let's do it. So
wait, you were drinking before 21?
No. So I got everything and started making beer at home. And then a lot of the guys at the diesel shop would give me a bunch of shit because in between jobs and such, I'd be sitting there reading brewing books at my desk or at my toolbox and just trying to research different recipes and, origins of different beer styles and such. And then I did that for a couple years. And IBU used to host their homebrewers club. So when I had turned 21, I started going to that, and I was sampling out some of my homebrewed beers, and Logan Bonney from Anything But Beer came up to me and thought my beer was really great and asked me if I wanted to interview to brew over at their facility. And I absolutely hated my diesel job, so I'm like, when can we do this? Let's get it going. went over there, interviewed with him. They basically hired me on the spot, which was awesome. We had great chemistry. Worked over there for a bit, and then Talking Cursive was hiring for just a shift brewer, and I'm like, I didn't have my daughter at the time, and I love to brew, so I'm like, yeah, I took that on, and then they eventually wanted me full time, so I ended up leaving Talking Cursive to go over there, and left Talking Cursive to go to Heritage Hill, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, what's it? The one thing that
Zoom.
these are the parts of the podcast that I have to I listen back and I edit out because I don't come into any of these podcasts with anything planned ever.
That's good though. That's how it's it's organic.
Right. But what that means is as the guest finishes saying something and I'm thinking about how to formulate my next question, I say things off and they're like, yeah, right. Well, what about this?
Yeah.
So that usually it's like 5 seconds of me stammering. The things that I think
again.
the things that I think are impressive about you and your what you do at Heritage Hill is that it's up until recently it's just been you and you're putting out such an extraordinary amount of beer. And you're one of the only brewers that I know of who I haven't seen get like really down on the dumps over at any point in, let's say, the last 6 years that I've known different brewers in the area or in Central New York or wherever. Like some of them I see like the passion and then it's like super depressed. Especially now it's easy to be depressed because beer is so down.
Right.
But so I've admired that about you. Like anytime I've run into you or talked or whatever, we talk to each other weekly,
right.
You and I, and then we call each other at least an hour a week and chat before bed.
If you're not tucking me in, that's usually the regimen.
But I've never heard you be like, I've never heard you say anything to the effect of, oh, it sucks. I don't want to do it this week. Beer sucks right now. I'm so bummed I have to make this beer.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, I did struggle with self-motivation for a little bit there because, moving to the beat of your own drum can get old, but it's almost easier once you get over that hump to find self-motivation because you're not trying to convince somebody else to do something that way. You know how your brain works, so it does make it easier. And I try to get myself excited about what's coming next and finish the staple beers and finish everything that I need to get done at that time so that I can brew a new exciting beer or a one-off New England or put 8,300 pounds of fruit into one single beer and a bunch of lactose.
Yeah, you are known as the lactose king?
I'm the king of the lactose. I have a secret silo. It's an underground bunker.
What is it about lactose and beer that made you so curious?
I think at this point I'm just doing it to piss other brewers off.
It's working. Or it's worked.
No, I mean, I think Heritage Hill has built a reputation around our fruited sour beer, and I started implementing using lactose in fruited sour beer at Talking Cursive just based on how it accentuated the fruit characteristics. And I keep doing so many different sour beers over here, and I've done a lot of test batches where I don't add lactose to some and I do to the same exact beer. And I'll do a side-by-side, and just something about lactose in fruited sours, it just really makes that fresh fruit character come out. But more so than I can just piss off other brewers.
So if you're testing out, if you're sitting at home and you're thinking, all right, I've been, you've been thinking about a recipe for a new beer, or new whatever, not a new style, but a new way of doing something. Do you small batch to see if it's going to work before you do a full batch of it?
No, I send it full batch. Usually everything's within the same weight parameter for barley, and then I kind of formulate the water profile around that. So we are off a well, so all of the brewing water is super hard. So it's ran through 2 charcoal filters, a UV flash filter, softener salts, and then I push it through a dual membrane reverse osmosis machine and filter out almost all minerality, and then back treat my brewing water with the correct brewing salts to get the water profile I desire.
Wow. Was that there in place, or is that something that you put in?
There was a single membrane in place when I started. It just didn't keep up with the volume. I think within the first year I was there, I did more than I almost quadrupled the year before production. So and since then I've doubled that. So it's crazy. I mean, I truly don't know how the previous brewers before me got away with brewing as little as they did. Like it worked somehow, but as time goes on, we added more streams of revenue, which brings more people in, brings more family. So
yeah, Heritage Hill is a great space. I mean, me just being the stubborn douchebag that I am, was giving Dan some shit, and I don't even think Dan knows who I am. I don't think he does at all, because I saw him at an event out there. I was like, "Hey, Dan, how's it going?" He was like, "Hey, thanks for coming out."
Hey, you, how are you? Good to see you, bud.
Yeah. So, and that's not fair of me. And let me just be the one here to apologize.
Oh, it's fine. It is out of the beaten path.
Yeah.
If I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't go there on my days off anymore. I used to quite a bit, but it's a hike. And when you drive it 5 days a week, or sometimes 6-7 days a week, the drive gets old. It is a pretty drive.
Yeah.
But some days I'll take different routes, and I even bought another car just to drive a different car to help, to see if that helps with the commute. It's not a bad drive. It's just it does get old after a while.
Yeah. It's just such an impressive facility, and going out there. We went out there before we had our son with some friends, and there's just so much to do out there.
Yeah.
I mean, from hanging out at the bar or the restaurant, getting something to eat, going down to the hammocks, the animals, the coffee shop. I mean, there's so much to do out there. It's crazy. And then going for the rodeo over this past summer. I was out there. I forget if that was July. I think it was August maybe.
Yeah, the rodeo was sweet.
That was insane, man.
Yeah,
there were so many people out there.
I don't know if it's public knowledge yet, but I guess now it is. We actually are building a rodeo facility on our property now. It'll be
really?
It'll be done in the spring. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it'll be easier for people to, implementing one more thing again, like I was talking about. That's one more stream of revenue on premise versus doing it. Yeah. On our other property down the road. We're actually doing rodeos right there at the brewery now, which is awesome.
Why do you think Dan and Heritage Hill get so much shit from the people in Pompey?
There's a lot that goes into that. From my understanding, which forgive me, Dan, if you're watching this and this is incorrect, but I think it has a lot to do with the politics in the town, and there is a family that lives behind the brewery at the edge of our property line that what I think, again, I don't know the full truth of this, but I'm pretty sure they're with the other political party, and the Republicans won, and it has a lot to do with people being upset about that, and basically a lot of us getting approved for the new build-out was based around what would happen with the election, and we ended up getting approved from the election once the Republicans won. And I think the neighbors didn't love that, so they're just trying to come after us whatever way they can to try to delay the big expansion we're about to do.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you'd think a place like that, a facility that's that large, that brings that much revenue into Pompey, into a place that typically wouldn't see that many people from that, the stretches of central New York, the way that it does. You'd think that neighbors would be cool with that. Hey, look at all this economic development that's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to rustle feathers.
Yeah. The key word is allegedly. You just have to say allegedly this happened, and then you're good.
Yeah, I don't know. I truly try to stay out of everything as much as possible, just so I can be in the dark about it, and then when someone asks, I can honestly say I don't know.
You're only trying to ruffle the feathers of lactose.
Yeah, oh yeah, shake them bags, baby.
Yeah.
I love cows. You know, we got, and that again, that's important. It's important to use lactose because we are, you know, we have Black Angus, and we're our only way from there to further support the agricultural community is for me to just pump lactose into people's veins. It's important.
That's your job. I remember when my wife and I were in Hawaii for a honeymoon right before the pandemic, and we took a tour of who makes longboard. Is it Oahu? No, it's not Oahu.
Maui Brewing Company, I believe.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
It was on the Big Island, Kona Brewing Company. It's Kona Brewing Company. And so we got to go to their brewing facility and their tap room and did a brewery tour. And it was really cool to go see and have a tour through it and then get flights of their beers and all that kind of stuff.
Was it good? Was it good beer?
I enjoyed it. I drank quite a bit of it.
How much did you drink before saying that?
I drank quite a bit of it.
Were you off the liquor already? Or
I was. When we were there, I drank a lot.
That's what you do. That's important on vacation.
Yeah. I was going back and forth between Kona Brewing Company beers and
rum.
Mai
you
Tais.
A lot of rum.
A lot of rum.
Yeah.
A lot of, you know.
What's in a Mai Tai?
Well, it depends on who's making it. You know, if you're making like a real Mai Tai, it's orgeat, you know, an almond syrup.
Orgeat.
Which is really good with rum. And there's what is the other? There's like lime in it, I think. A real Mai Tai, like invented by Trader Vic back in the 50s, 40s, whatever it was.
Is that Trader Joe's cousin?
Yes.
I like him already.
Yeah. And he's like the godfather of tiki and tiki cocktails, Trader Vic. And so his is different, where like a resort, you know, Mai Tai is white and dark rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, lime juice, simple syrup. They float the dark rum on top.
God, I have a hangover already thinking about it.
I could sit on a beach, preferably on the West Coast, and just
crush them.
Get
one of those 1 gallon dispense jugs right next to you and just
absolutely crush Mai Tais.
Yeah, I've never had one, man. I don't,
my God.
I like bourbon quite a bit. I have a pretty extensive collection of bourbon, but I don't really like if I'm gonna go to a bar or go out drinking. I don't really adventure with cocktails. It's if they don't have Utica Club, it's Coors Banquet or Pabst Blue Ribbon or High Life. And if none of those are an option, I'm gonna say it. I will crush White Claws.
Yeah, I like White Claw. I like White Claws.
People give me shit. They're like, "Oh, you're a brewer and you're drinking a White Claw." It's like, yeah, you're a dentist. I don't see you here cleaning people's teeth. Like what? Like leave me alone. Let me drink my 87 White Claws tonight.
Yeah, that's the great thing about White Claws. You can drink a shit ton of them. They can help get you drunk quick,
and you're not ungodly hungover the next day from because there's no real unfermented sugar in there. It's just hooch with artificial flavoring.
Right. You know who loves White Claws, but he did say...
Tim Shore.
No, but he did say they're a little strong for him as Bud Laura. I don't know if you...
Really?
Yeah, you know Bud,
he's a
right?
Good guy, yeah.
Bud loves White Claws.
I think he'll drink anything that's got alcohol in it.
Yeah, but specifically,
guy's an animal.
He even got a White Claw tattoo and wears a White Claw t-shirt. That's how much he loves White Claw. They call him actually Bud White Claw Laura in some circles.
That's great.
I can't wait. But I hope you listen to this on Christmas morning and send us a text.
Crack open a cold White Claw. Or warm. We don't judge.
Yeah. I like White Claws. But so we took that tour, and the thing that I was thinking about when I was on the tour and what I asked him about is like, because Kona Brewing's obviously massively distributed and are they brewing everything on the island? No, they've got, contract facility. I think they might be owned by like AB or somebody. But, they've got brewing facilities all over the country. It was kind of funny, though. If you were getting draft beer, Kona Brewing Company, anywhere in Hawaii, it came from the brewery that was on the Big Island. But if you were getting a bottle, it most likely came from like Wisconsin. And was shipped in.
Yeah.
But
that's crazy to think.
The thing that interested me the most was how do they keep everything the same from their main brewery in Hawaii to the one in Wisconsin or wherever the fuck it was. And he was saying it's mineral packs. Like they have to test the water for the minerals and then they use that to keep it the same and consistently.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables with that. And, I always thought it was crazy. similar topic, but slightly off topic. The Pepsi plants right in Cicero. You rarely ever see any Pepsi or Mountain Dew or any Pepsi products for that matter that says it was made in Clinton's Ditch, Cicero on the package.
Really?
So they're making it and shipping it away, and then we end up with Pepsi and Mountain Dew from another plant.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
yeah, that's wild.
You get a nice cold Mountain Dew, you're like, hell yeah, brewed right here in Cicero, and it's like from North Dakota or something.
Right. That's why everybody should drink Challenger Cola. Challenger Cola and Brown Carbonic is the sponsor of this week's Eat Local New York podcast. Shucks Root Beer is my favorite root beer, and you should support local and drink Challenger Cola, made right here in East Syracuse. Right, Billy?
That was a good plug. Yeah, shout out to the Sean Sally.
Sean was just in here today and playing some
him.
videos. Yeah, we're going to do, I think for Brown Carbonic, we're going to do like a whole like big brewery feature, and history of Brown Carbonic video and stuff like that. It is kind of just, I know it's odd. It's like just a random thing, but it's really cool that they make like soda.
Yeah. And we also did a collab with them. So
Yeah.
if you're in McGraw, if you're heading back from Greek Peak skiing, stop into McGraw Box Brewery, grab the Shocker Pink Lemonade, or stop into Heritage Hill. It took me a moment to remember what we named that beer. Or stop into Heritage Hill and grab a Shocker Pink Lemonade. It was made with Brown Carbonic's wonderful pink lemonade.
Yeah.
Brewed it over at McGraw as a collab with Heritage Hill and Brown, and it is a lovely little treat.
Is this the logo?
What did you say? What did you say to say about this? What did you say? Not hypothetically. You're like,
Oh, allegedly.
allegedly, that may be the inspiration for the name. Allegedly, you figured it. You
was all Pedro's
allegedly
idea.
might have allegedly figured it out.
All right,
Shocker.
switching topics to something a little more serious. What do you think is going on in the beer industry? Why is beer down so much?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the economy, and the cost of living is going up like crazy, and yet wages haven't come up to justify being able to go out and spend, $8 a pint, and then you have to get snacks or food, and you end up spending hundreds of dollars to go out for a night when you can spend significantly less to get, beer at the grocery store, large macro format, and make food at home. It's really just, I think a lot of it has to do with the economy, and small businesses are the ones that are hurting by it because, people aren't going to go out and support small businesses if they can't afford to, even if they want to,
Yeah, I do think that's part of it. I mean, it is. Rebecca and I used to order pizza every Friday night, and we stopped because we'd spend, I won't name the place that we ordered from, and granted, like $15 of it was delivery fees, and delivery fee and tip. But we ordered takeout for a large pizza and wings last week. It was $60.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that good. And so, yeah, it is incredibly, allegedly it is incredibly expensive to go out to eat or drink nowadays. And also, I was just talking to Bud about this. He was saying a friend, they were like, hey, we're trying to go out for like a nice meal somewhere late on like a Thursday or Friday night, and nobody was open past like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think part of the issue with craft beer is its availability. Most medium, not even medium, like I'd say smallish, medium-sized breweries have found a way to distribute and get their beer in grocery stores, whether it's a Tops or Wegmans or whatever the case is, whether it's self-distributing or going through Shein or OnBev or whomever. And not to mention, they're in so many different restaurants. The availability of beer exists. It's everywhere. And so why, first of all, like I'm going to have a stronger emotional connection to a company that has a better, unless there's like a special scenario. Like if IBU was open, I would be at IBU and drinking pretty much exclusively their beer because of the connections I had when I first got into beer. And hanging out there with Dunes and Big Mike and Pedro, hanging out with them. Yeah. They were the first people to like let me in and be like, hey, you just bought a camera and you know what the fuck you're doing? Sure, come on up and hang out with us for a brew day.
McGraw took that space over, right?
I do, yeah.
And the rumor of us Petro, and Terry buying it to open our own brewery is not true. So many people messaged me asking me that, and I thought
I started
hilarious.
that rumor.
I feel
sure
like you did. You are the
I'm pretty
rumor
sure you
guy.
told me. You told me that was the thought.
Petro is always, his. Love you, Petro. He's got a big one of these.
Yeah, he's watching this on Christmas morning.
Yeah, he is. But it all stemmed from him. None of us are in a place to do any of that financially, or
Yeah.
It'd be the worst time ever because the way craft beer is going.
Right.
Unfortunately,
I feel like it's bouncing a little bit.
Yeah.
Back, and it could just be it's because it's my interest, but I don't think it is. I think that people are starting to, and I don't know if it's not the majority of people, but I think that like the group of individuals who are really interested in craft beer, not just interested in like, oh yeah, I'll drink the local IPA versus the national. I'm talking about these are the people who are like, wait a minute, how did you make that? And what are the tasty notes? Like the people that are really into it, I feel like that group is either coming back out or it's growing. I'm not sure which, but I do feel like there's just more of an interest in craft beer right now than there was 3 months ago. Having said that, I do feel like the reason why a lot of craft breweries are hurting is because like they sell their beer everywhere.
Right.
I can go and get
oversaturation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I can go to 5, 6, 12 different restaurants in Syracuse tonight and find beer from Pink Fern Brewing Company.
Shout out to Grow Brewing Company.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's a dual wielded sword. A lot of places need to, a lot of breweries need to sell their beer elsewhere in order to make enough revenue to. Oh, that got really loud. Make enough revenue to be able to sustain.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, it sucks because the oversaturation is keeping them afloat, but it's also hurting their in-house sales, which is where you build your biggest revenue. So it's hard, and in some cases, like I'm extremely grateful for the fact that our tap room is a unique space, and honestly, in most regards, like putting our product at certain restaurants and bars is a luxury to us, and it's not a necessity. And for a lot of breweries, it is a necessity, and I'm grateful for that because I deliver all the sales and I do all of that. But I'm also, I love being able to work with other restaurants and bars and such. But I that allows me to be selective with who I want to work with in order to control that supply chain in order to push people to come out, and two, be able to collaborate with our friends. Once our good friend Kyle opens up Tap House on Walton, we have we're actually brewing their house beer. So we'll be on all year round, and his house lager is actually produced at Heritage Hill. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. All right. So what's your hope? What's your vision? What's your goal for your brewing career?
I'd like to start making, and this is every brewer's dreams, I want to make more beer that I like to drink, and that's hard. I love saisons. I love barrel-aged mixed culture beer. We have a bunch of stuff coming out that's been sitting in barrels for 3 years, some for 2 years, all kinds of different stuff, different blends. Super excited about that stuff. Last time you came and visited, you actually tried one of those. I'm super excited to release that one. We're just waiting a little bit longer for the bottles to finish, bottle conditioning. But yeah, that's really my biggest goal right now is just implementing more beers that I'm even more so passionate about, and continuing to expand our the library of beers that we have up there.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. Well, you've got to get going here in a little bit.
Yes.
Are there any Christmas, because this is coming out Christmas Day?
Yes. Yeah. I am super excited about the beer we talked about in the beginning. It is a barley wine that should sit around 12%. Super excited about that. That's the first recipe me and Terry have worked on together. So it's
is it available?
It will be available right around Christmas time.
Okay.
So
today.
Yeah, today.
So maybe like 2 days ago.
Get one. Yeah, 2 days. You might already had one. You might be drinking some right now. Crazy enough. Yeah, super excited for that. We got some new fun stouts coming out that I can't speak too much about because I'll ruin it. Even if it is Christmas.
We have a stout beer and oyster festival at Harvey's in February.
Let's do it.
We're already doing it.
Can I do it?
Yeah, you can be involved.
Because you guys always invite me, and then I don't get invited.
Stout beer, and well, that's Ryan Som.
Sure. Well, let me find out where Ryan Som lives. Let me pull up. Just kidding. Love you, Som.
Stout beer and oyster festival.
Yeah, dude, I'm in. I don't love oysters, but.
And then we're doing a West Coast IPA festival.
Oh man.
In the beginning of February.
Can I come?
Yeah, for sure.
I got a good Westie.
Yeah, we need them.
The bestie Westie.
We need like 12 of them. Well, listen, William.
Yes, sir. It's actually my birth name's Billie. Crazy enough.
Was it really?
Yeah, Billy Smith. I'm not gonna say anymore, but yeah,
You
Billy.
born in Virginia, West Virginia.
Hell yeah, brother.
Thanks, buddy. Everybody,
Yeah.
check out Heritage Hill. You can find it around town. You can find it in Pompey and
Syracuse Dome.
That's Billy.
See you guys.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.